Excellencies, Honorable Prime Ministers, Vice Presidents who are here with us, the Secretary General of the AFCFTA Secretariat, the Secretary General of the Commonwealth, the President of the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, representatives of development finance institutions, business leaders here present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellencies, it is an open secret that many African economies are today battling debt and foreign currency liquidity crisis and other domestic challenges. These problems are mostly traceable to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as geopolitical tensions and conflicts, most of which originated from outside our continent. It is regrettable for me to say in 2024 that the African development story remains a very sad enigma. Africa remains at the periphery of global affairs. We account for a paltry 2.8% share of the global economy. We remain at the lowest rungs of global industry, accounting for just 2.5% of global manufacturing value added. Our share of world trade is also stuck at 3% for a continent that accounts for 17% of the world population. Your Excellencies, Africa was and remains shackled by what the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah described as a poverty paradox. Is it logical for a continent that produces the largest volume of cobalt, a key component of EV batteries, to be invisible in the global discourse on electric vehicle production? Why should a continent that produces no less than 80% of global cocoa account for a paltry $10 billion of the $120 billion global chocolate and confectionery market? The African Continental Free Trade Agreement thus presents the best and perhaps the last chance for this continent to escape the course of underdevelopment and deindustrialization. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a game changer, the AFCFTA, is before us, offering us a unique chance to create the Africa we want. It is good news that the number of countries participating in the Guided Trade Initiative has expanded to 10. Businesses, be they SMEs or corporates, and banks must also now gear up to build and grow regional value chains. Trading entities should avail themselves of training programs in-country and those run by Afreximbank, AFCFTA Secretariat, and International Trade Center in order to learn more on how to trade under the AFCFTA. Banks must also now see intra-African trade and investment financing deals as bankable. In addition, Your Excellencies, we've also put our legs on the gas pedal at the bank and accelerating our other AFCFTA enabling interventions. A continent with 42 currencies and payment systems cannot efficiently trade amongst itself. That was why we implemented the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System in partnership with the AFCFTA Secretariat and the African Union Commission to create a single payment rail for the continent. With support from African central banks, PAPS is today ramping up commercial operations under dual central banks and commercial bank settlement models. 12 African central banks and 95 commercial banks, as well as 10 switches, have been onboarded. Given that 4 central banks and over 100 commercial banks are on the queue to connecting to PAPS, we have made more resources available to rapidly connect them and also to upgrade the switches of central banks that need to be upgraded for connection to the PAPS. The $1 billion settlement fund provided by Afreximbank is also in place. And by April 2024, PAPS will launch an African currency trading platform that we hope will unblock the funds stuck in various African countries due to lack of foreign exchange, and perhaps also ease intra-regional air travels because the airlines will have their funds unblocked. Working with the AFCFTA Secretariat, we've also fully established the AFCFTA Adjustment Fund with its headquarters in Kigali, Rwanda. The fund will, among others, provide compensation to eligible countries for tariff revenue losses as a result of AFCFTA implementation. It will also provide funding to countries and businesses to enable them to adjust in an orderly manner to the new trading regime. Afreximbank seeded the fund with an amount of $1 billion and a grant funding of $10 million. With the support of the African Union Commission and the AFCFTA Secretariat, Afreximbank has also launched the Africa Collaborative Transit Guarantee Scheme, with a pilot being implemented in the Comesa region under their Regional Transit Guarantee Scheme. Afreximbank is acting as a regional guarantor to obviate the need for the issuance of multiple guarantees for goods that move across multiple borders. But we've gone beyond harmonizing standards to developing the quality infrastructure that is needed for testing and inspection. Projects have been completed in Nigeria and are ongoing in Kenya, Egypt, and elsewhere. The fourth edition of the fair will hold in Algeria in 2025, by which time we hope the institutionalization process will have been concluded. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Afreximbank has also doubled down on the use of technology to support AFCFTA implementation. Among others, we launched the Africa Trade Exchange, the business-to-business and business-to-government e-commerce platform that is AFCFTA rules compliant. We've developed just under 20,000 hectares of industrial estates. We plan to bring this to 100,000 hectares across Africa in the very near future. Having invested $1 billion in this, the past few years, our board just last year approved another $1 billion for upcoming projects that are on the pipeline. Above all of these, Your Excellencies, is the need for Africa to have its own banks, strong banks, owned and controlled by Africans. China Development Bank and China Afreximbank emerged some 30 years ago. Today, they are some of the largest financial institutions in the world, contributing to China's and indeed world economic development. Brazil's BNDES is also of significant size and supporting the development of Brazil. Africa must be deliberate in creating its own strong financial institutions. As I bring my remarks to a close, I must reiterate the fact that the AFCFTA grants us the unique opportunity to take charge of the trajectory of our economies. We must seize this golden opportunity as our future lies in creating the Africa that we want. I reinforce these views with a quote from the late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who said, and I quote, "It is clear that we must find an African solution to our problems, and that this can only be found in African unity. Divided, we are weak. United, Africa could become one of the greatest forces for good in the world." I thank you for your kind attention.